Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining again. And I have to continuously say thank you for those of you who've been joining in for quite some time since we started and still with us. And for those of you who are joining in for the first time, welcome and thank you very much for your support in all the different ways that you provided your support. I thought today it just came to mind about just all of a sudden, I felt this wave of gratitude because I was telling a friend of mine about how March feels like it's marching on me. But at the same time, even though there are all these unlucky circumstances that keep coming up, things that's supposed to take 5 minutes to be done with end up taking a whole day or even 2 days sometimes, just things like that. But at the same time, there was this great feeling of feeling grateful, and I'm asking myself, what am I feeling grateful for? And I thought about, as a Buddhist, as soon as bad things start to happen to you, you're sort of trained to think about, what did I do wrong? What is this bad karma that is ripening on me? Uh, but at the same time, I'm because of the feeling of gratitude that I feel, I say, thinking about what could I have done and wrong for March to be marching all over me. Also thinking about this feeling of gratitude, this feeling of being grateful. Why is it there? Because it's uh, people who have been, people who have stuck with me for a long time. I'm extremely grateful. Uh, and it's a amazing thing, and I feel like I don't feel abandoned the way, unfortunately, a lot of people suffer this experience. I don't feel abandoned because I feel supported. I feel there are a lot of people, even though I would have abandoned myself many times, but people who have been with me for a long time have stuck around are still sticking around, and I'm feeling extremely grateful for that, especially with March marching all over me. Today, a coworker asked me, "Did you eat today?" Sincere concern about did I eat today, and then another coworker just decided to buy me some food without even asking me, "Should I buy you something?" So I was feeling very grateful that these people are around me, and of course the question, what good karma did I do? I gotta keep that up. And unfortunately, karma being what it is, you can't really say, what did you do a few days ago, a few years ago, that you say that, oh, that's why I'm experiencing this. Unfortunately, not that way. You have to be an extremely powerful practitioner for you to have done something a few days ago, or a few weeks, or even in this lifetime, for you to start experiencing its ripening immediately. Usually, what we do as very, very close to being powerful practitioners is that we wake up seeds that we have already planted, we nourish them, and then they grow, and then they become the wonderful experiences. Okay. All right. So that's a very long, somewhat crooked introduction. All right. So let's begin with a meditation. And yes, gratitude to everyone who who've made this possible. And uh, I really have to learn how to express gratitude better. Maybe that's why March is marching on me. Okay, so let's meditate. Send a message to your entire being that you're going to enter into this natural state called meditation. You don't have to force your body to get into it. Just announce it, and your body will already know what to do. Just listen to that intelligence in the body. It will give you advice in the form of hints, in the form of almost instincts. Arrange your legs this way. Arrange your torso this way. Your arms and hands this way. And as you bring awareness to these different parts of your body, and you're listening to that natural intelligence, and you follow its advice, you begin to feel that you're entering the meditative experience. The signs are slowly appearing, the calmness, the pleasantness, the sense of distinctive knowing, the sense of presentness, the sense of the mind, attention collecting itself. And if that intelligence tells you to make an adjustment, mindfully, consciously go and make that adjustment. And notice that after making the adjustment, as you're even making the adjustment, you feel yourself going deeper into that experience that gives you the this instinctive understanding, knowing that I am entering meditation. The head and neck are centered, mouth, teeth, tongue resting in their natural places. Eyes in whatever posture helps you to enter meditation. Close, slightly open, halfway open, even staring straight ahead. Whatever enhances the experience for you of that calming, going towards peace, pleasantness, slowly moving towards bliss, distinctive knowing, moving towards pure clarity, that sense of presentness, moving towards bright luminosity, and a collective coming together of attention leading to single-pointedness. As soon as you see their shadows approaching, welcome them. Rejoice that you're experiencing them. And gently, once you're done with the body, you witness that you've done what that intelligence is telling you, go to the breath without seeking to control it. As you breathe in, you simply know you are breathing in. As you breathe out, you simply know you are breathing out. And if your intention is strong enough to transition into the meditative state, as you are aware of the breath, which is like the bridge, that you're walking on the bridge, about to get into the space called meditation, and you reach the end of the bridge and you're about to fully commit yourself, you can just do it with the strength of your intention to enter, or you can use the breath as a stepping stone. So take a nice conscious deep breath if you wish. Hold for a second or two, and then as you release the breath, completely release everything. Releasing the body, releasing the breath, releasing the mind, letting go, letting go, letting go, noticing the signs, enhancing, welcoming them, letting go, letting go, letting go. And at the end of that breath, as you allow the breath to naturally come back, stay where you've reached. Stay with that measure of calm. Stay with that measure of pleasantness as you breathe in. Stay with that measure of clarity and radiance. Stay with that measure of focus. Stay there. Whatever the measure, stay there. Welcome it. Rejoice in it. And have the conviction, having made that conscious commitment to fully enter, having taken that breath, which is like a signing that commitment, you must now relate to every experience as a meditative experience. This is a meditative experience, no matter how similar it appears to experiences you have outside of meditation. This is where I give the similarity of going to a different town and there's a Starbucks. It doesn't mean that you didn't leave your town. You are now in the Starbucks of that town. So whatever experiences are similar to, say, experiences outside, consider to be, this is the meditative experience of that. And as you continue to observe the breath, continue to let go, and this is the essence of what you might call attunement, attuning your mind to its nature, to its fundamental nature. Bring attention to the space in front of you at the level of your eyebrows. It doesn't matter if your eyes are closed, but as if you're looking at a different dimension. And as you're looking in that space in front of you, direct your wish to encounter your enlightened nature, your enlightened potential, however you wish to phrase it, that part of you that is calling you towards meaningful existence. Just think about it. And as you think about it, from as though you're thinking at it from the perspective of the space between your eyebrows, and you begin to feel a sensation there. However the sensation appears to you, consider that sensation to be, this is the presence of, however you want to say it, the infallible guide that's going to help me, the enlightened potential, my own enlightenment itself. In a way, all these terms are describing the same thing. And as you feel that presence, you have a sense of great respect for it. Like you aspire towards something because you have deep respect for it. So this is something that you aspire from the depth of your being, and allow the sense of respect that you have for it come forth and let it be expressed in some inner way. Let the sense of trust that you have in it come up to the surface and let it be expressed in some inner way. Like completely place your reliance on it. Understand it to be the ultimate place that you can rely, that you can have, that you can sincerely rely on or infallibly rely upon. And having made this measure of a conscious contact, there is a measure of conviction within you that, yes, this meaningful way of existence is possible within my continuum. The means of accomplishing that is present, whether it is your enlightened potential that you can manipulate, it's your enlightened future enlightenment coming to guide you, some compassionately enlighten whoever comes to guide you in whatever way that the connection feels sincere and true to you. Express gratitude because you made that connection. Now you know this aspiration is definitely going to happen. Like giving gratitude towards someone you know will fulfill what is promised, even though it's not given yet, but you feel grateful and you're expressing gratitude because you know the promise is done and as if already fulfilled. So feel that sense of gratitude. And wishing to be guided constantly in your everyday experiences, in your everyday life, especially when you're focused in something that usually it is said to be something that takes us away from deliberately, consciously thinking meaningfully. So, especially in those circumstances, we want to be guided, not steered away. So, as a sign for that, for our own consciousness, we imagine, we even feel this bright presence come to the crown of our heads with a very fulfilling, the very essence of love's wishes, of compassion's wishes. We feel love, we feel compassion directed towards us with that brightness above our heads. And we allow ourselves to be bathed with this incredible love that is being directed towards us. The most important thing is to feel it. And to help us feel it, you can imagine, visualize this love falling, showering upon you like a shower of light. If you can't feel the love, let the light help you. If you're visualizing the light and you're forgetting about the love, let go of the light, go back to try to make contact with, I am being loved, I'm being cared for. I mean, there's a very evolved, compassionate concern for my condition. And wishing to not be consciously separated from this presence. And as you make that wish, that bright presence descends to the crown of your head, and you feel its light illuminating the path as it descends. And when it gets to the very center of your heart, it stops. And from that place, it radiates light. Your emotional body is filled with light. Your physical body is filled with light. Your energy body is filled with light. Your mind is filled with light. All the different aspects of your being, however you categorize them, they are filled with light. And with that, make connection to that call that you felt. Even some of you felt it even before you could even speak. You felt that call for something meaningful, like almost like the legend, so to speak, when the Buddha was first born and he uttered, "This is my last life." So almost in the same way, even before you could speak, there was that sense of, this is the life to make the most meaningful. So connect to that. And as you connect to it, let yourself hear, let yourself take experiences through that lens. And if it's expressing itself through making those in your immediate surroundings, your family, your friends, your whoever who are in your immediate sincere concern, you want your life to be meaningful for them, that's enough. It doesn't have to be some superficial, unfelt, unreal, all sentient being kind of stuff. All sentient being could be every cell in your body, every member of your family, every friend in your circle, everyone you encounter in your daily life. And with that, feeling ready, and gently let yourself rest in the space of just the space of the meditation, the sense of calm, the sense of pleasantness, the degree of clarity, which is perhaps being displayed as the very sensations that you're having, the inner visuals, the inner tactile sensations, perhaps inner sounds, whatever are appearing with a distinctiveness to them, like this is such and such a sound, this is such and such a color, this is such and such a shape, this is such and such an experience. That's an expression of clarity and a sense of it's happening now-ness. That's an expression of luminosity. So knowing these are present, rejoice, and get ready to come out of the meditation. And you're going to make the step on the bridge, either with a strong intention to do so, or using the breath as a means to make that sort of conviction. Are we ready? Through the breath, consciously, deliberately take a breath. Hold for a second or two, and then step. And as you relax, let go, let your consciousness, let your senses commune with your immediate surroundings deliberately, consciously, even if you were aware of them before, but this time deliberately, consciously feel your environment through the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, and the sense of sight. And deliberately knowing this is color, this is shape, this is light, this is shadow. Okay. All right. For those of you who are curious, this meditation, you could say, was in a way the essence of every Tibetan form of meditation, with some elaborations here and there. Okay. So without making it specific to any particular tradition, but all that, this is the essence of all of them. And any other kind of meditation tradition, whether it's Buddhist or not Buddhist, if it's meditation, this is the essence of it in a way. Okay. Whether they're doing it consciously or deliberately or not, this is it. Okay. All right. So Nizam again did a beautiful job in writing the email. It's very beautiful, very nicely written. So we're going to try to go into it. This is something that I witnessed a lot of with my fellow Buddhists, and of course, I'm not saying it taking myself out and looking at them, oh, my fellow Buddhists over there, but us Buddhists, in a sense, there is something that draws you to the path, something real, something that is of concern to you, for whatever it may be. Some people it's a tragedy, some people it's some sort of beauty, so whatever it may be. Okay, a desire to know something, a desire to have an experience, whatever it may be. But it's something that is real to you at that moment. And then you make connection with this thing called the path. And you're very excited and you're waiting for something from what you're hearing that will either help you connect with the experience that you seek to connect, will help you to know what you seek to know. But there seems to be a lot of introductions. I mean, you still have it. You went there to have to know this, to have this experience, and yet it's promising you, yes, I'm going to give you that experience. I'm going to give you that knowledge. And it seems to be presenting it to you in a way that is convincing that, yes, it possesses the ability to give you the experience, to give you the realization. And yet, what we seem to be doing most of the time is just collecting I would not even call it knowledge, right? Just collecting things that we know, okay? Even though the word knowledge, it fits that, but knowledge has a slight, definition to it that is not quite the same as collecting things that you know, okay? Collecting things that you know, and but there's a part of us that is collecting these things that we are starting to know, like the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the 37 this, the 36 that, all these kinds of things. That is something, for example, if you've been reading Buddhist literature, they love enumerations as titles of things, as, you know, the two truths, the for this, the eight path, the 5 path, the 10 bhumis, all of these numbers. And as you're collecting all these knowings, and each one you know, you feel, okay, I'm gonna get this. By knowing this, I'm gonna get closer to that experience. And you know it, and then it feels good to know it, but no real experience. Okay, no experience that actually is the experience that you're looking for. But it promises you, I'll get you closer. It's like a con man. Sorry to say that. It's like you're being conned, and then, you know, each time they feed you something, it feels like what they're feeding you is going to get you closer to what they're ultimately promising you, without giving you what they're ultimately promising you. Okay, I'm not saying Buddhism is a con. Okay, just I'm being conned so lately, so it's very fresh. So that's why I'm using it. So I know the experience and almost the path of being conned. Okay, so it's that experience, and it's and after quite a bit of time, there's a part of you that knows, wait a minute, I've been here for this amount of time, and I am this close to why I am here. So we start to elaborate on these things that we know, as though the knowing them is the experience that we were seeking. Someone, like, for example, 4 truths, and then the last one talks about the path, right? And you have the Eightfold Noble Path, and then you have the Eightfold Noble Path as described by this tradition, the Eightfold Noble Path described by that tradition. And then we collect a lot of beautiful noble paths. There's this incredible meditation. This is something that as I was walking home on the street, and it was a wonderful thing to actually hear people, casually talking about. But at the same time, it also struck me. This couple were walking, and they were talking about, oh, I went to this meditation, and this kind of meditation, and this kind of meditation, and the guy was guiding the meditation, and of course, I've been in that kind of circle. I say, oh yeah, meditation, and what has happened to meditation that has become nice that a lot of people are talking about it, but it's become this almost like, do you want a cup of coffee? It's not really something that connects you to that experience that you were driven from the depth of your being to go seek meditation to help you give you the experience. It becomes just something to talk about while you're walking on your way, to the subway station or to somewhere. Okay, so in the same way, you have these people who are able to talk about so many different paths. Or in Tantra, there are actually 8 paths, or there are 9 paths, depending on which one you want to talk about. The first path, you do this. The second path, you do that. The third path, you do that. And the last path, oh my God, your chakras are open, and then you you direct light into them, you shoot lasers at them. All these beautiful talks about path and no experience. People are able to talk about path in very elaborate ways that you can write, volumes with, and yet no real experience. Why? Because the very first noble truth was not an experience. It was just something you know. What is the very first noble truth? Are you honest with your life? Are you honest with your experiences? That's the first noble truth. The first noble truth is not the first noble truth, the first truth of suffering. That is not the first noble truth, okay? That's just a name for an experience. How are you dealing with life? Are you dealing with life the way life is happening? Or are we fantasizing about, are we living a fantasized view of life? Are we with life? And then this kind of thing is sort of, okay, there's some kind of understanding about that, but no actual experience of that. So there's elaboration upon this where it almost, some people seem to be speaking in an enlightened way, in a very evolved way, oh, just be with it. Just be with your suffering, okay? Be lucky that you're suffering, okay? You have experience. They completely forget why the first noble truth was spoken. It wasn't spoken. It wasn't spoken. It wasn't pointed out for the purpose of what we are supposed to be with, but rather what are we experiencing. Okay? So when we are honest with what we are experiencing, all the really when we are honest with just what we are experiencing, it doesn't mean that my life should be this way. I'm waiting for it to be this way. Then the first noble truth begins. Okay. Whatever it is that's going on, and you're honest with it, whether it is something that you're ashamed to tell others about, but you're honest with it in yourself, whether it's something that you want to run and tell everybody, look how wonderful I am, but you're honest with it. We do not glorify things just because we want things to be glorified, even though they're not supposed to be. By that, I mean, and it's that thing, I mean, when I mentioned before, in some weird way, just be with it kind of thing, where you're not having a good time, to put it mildly, okay? You're not having a good time. And then someone tells you to accept it. Accept it. Be one with it. It's supposed to be that way. When you accept it as supposed to be that way, then everything is okay. And then there are those who even say it's actually a beautiful thing. It's your perspective. Basically telling you, hey, you're crazy. You're some crazy person in heaven. Okay? You're in heaven and you're crazy and you don't know that you're in heaven. Or the guy who is mistreating you, that's an angel throwing flowers at you. And because you're crazy, you think the guy's mistreating you. So it's almost as if that's how they want us to understand the first noble truth in the sense of being present with what's going on. Being present with what's going on, the aim of it is not for you to make it into something else. It's not the aim for you to just stay with it for the rest of your existence, because that's how it is. Because by that instinct that we have when we're having an experience that we don't want, that I don't want this experience, there's nothing wrong with that instinct I don't want. But the way to fulfill that instinct is to be present with the experience, not distracting ourselves away from it. Okay. We distract ourselves because we don't feel able to be with that unpleasant experience. So we distract ourselves. But distracting ourselves from the experience doesn't make the experience go away. That's why, in a psychological way, we find people who are supposedly their age tells them they're supposed to have overcome something, and yet they have not even started to deal with it yet, because they kept distracting themselves from it. They did not allow themselves to simply be with what was going on. And why should we be with what is going on? Why should we be honest with the experience that is going on? That is the only way for us to begin to gain insight, which will give us the clues as to what are those things that are connected with this experience that are feeding this experience. It doesn't have to be something extraordinary. Don't wait for something extraordinary, like some bright being finally shows up in front of you and says, that is the answer to your question. And you feel, woo! And somehow you're supposed to, how do you know if this bright being is not just fooling you? It's not just another con. How do you know? It's not just another con, right? Something in you there has to be something inside just that sort of validates the experience as, yes, that's genuine. How will we know? You have to be in connection with that part of us that can validate experiences. And how is that part of us? How do we stay in touch with that part of us? By being honest with our experiences. Don't say life sucks just because that's what everybody's saying, and it's in mode. It's a la mode, okay? It's in vogue to say that when you enter in the salon, in the parties, and then everybody's talking about, oh, life sucks. Why? Because that's what Jean-Paul Double said so in page 64 of 74 of his volume, The Epitome. Not because you had some experience in your life, but because it sounds cute to say so. Okay? Be honest with your life. It will lead you, it will let you have insight into the things that are connected to it. At first, this insight may not be, like insight that leads into, oh, I'm enlightened now. Now I can, now I'm a Buddha. I'm fully enlightened because I know the insight. The insight could be something very simple. It could be somehow you come to know, oh, it's those experiences, oh. And then, of course, they come in layers. Of course, you have the first layer, and you're open, and the second layer, and the third layer, and the fourth layer, okay? Then that itself, because we understand the condition, how it is, the first noble truth, then it will help us connect to the second noble truth, which is there are things nourishing this experience. There are things present that are the conditions for this experience. This experience is connected to other things. And if I disconnect those things, then this experience will no longer be. So that begins to give us a glimpse of the third noble truth, which is cessation. And I mentioned that we have had experiences of cessation where, remember, in moments when we sort of, okay, we give up, we stop struggling meaning we stop trying to distract ourselves from an experience, and we allow the experience ourselves to know the experience as it is happening. At that moment of sort of surrender, to borrow that term, we feel a certain peace. That peace is an experience of cessation. So that also tells us that just because we are having a certain experience that even though we wish not to have that experience, you're experiencing heartache. When you let yourself know what is going on, what is happening in your body, what's happening in yourself emotionally, what's happening in yourself energetically, what is the state of your thinking, and you just know it. That's what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And there's a moment in that experience, it doesn't stop being what it is, but there's a moment where you feel a certain freedom from it, even though it's there. So that moment of experience of freedom is actually a taste of cessation. Okay. It promises us that it is possible because we see this experience is connected to these things which are nourishing it, because we know that, because we are becoming to have a sense of them, it is possible for us to actually arrive at a moment where we are experiencing a life without those kinds of experiences anymore. And because we have that, a measure of conviction, a measure of faith, I'll borrow that too. I'm going to borrow a lot of things tonight. I'll borrow that. You have a measure of faith that makes it possible for you to actually begin to entertain the idea of path, the means to disconnect yourself from those things that are nourishing an experience that you don't want to have. And the reason for stating the first noble truth as suffering is not so much that the way, unfortunately, almost every Buddhist has to sort of explain this to people. It's not a pessimistic, it's not somebody who's holding a pessimistic perspective, but rather somebody who's holding a real perspective about life. And the reason for the word suffering is the one that was chosen is that, for the most part, come on, human beings, that's what we experience. Okay. So because that is sort of like the summary of what our experience is, and sort of put it out there. It could have said anything else, right? Take bliss. It has a cause. It is, there is, there's a state of cessation, and there's a path to that cessation. Okay. I don't know, that does sound good, but cessation of bliss. I don't think you want cessation of bliss, but it's the same kind of thing, but it could be reversed. Like, okay, you're in heaven. There's a reason why you're in heaven. If you don't be careful, you can no longer be experiencing heaven. If you're not careful, there are things that you can do that ends up with you losing your state of heaven. Okay, so it's the reverse. Your condition that you have that you don't want, there's a reason why it's there. It's possible for you not to have that experience anymore, and there's a path that you can take that will lead for you to no longer have that experience. But there's an experience, there's a reason for it, there's a state where you're not experiencing that, and there's a path to that not experiencing of it. Okay, whether it's bliss you don't want to experience. No, you keep hearing that, right? Oh, heaven, it's going to get boring after a million years. Who wants to go to heaven? Spend eternity just being happy? Ugh, where's the fun of that? Okay. So if you want to throw that in there for those kinds of people, yeah, okay. Oh, you're in bliss? You want to stop it? There's a path that will help you stop it. Okay. All right. So those are the four truths, the four facts of existence. And the way we have to look at them, we have to look at them in our lives, in our experiences. What is happening in my life? What are the conditions nourishing it? What are the things that I want to stop? And then, is it possible for you to have a taste of it being stopped? And that capacity to have a taste of that being stopped, that will lead to the path itself. And the path, remember, this is not so much a philosophy for you to entertain, for you to entertain, like, the way people entertain philosophies. Oh, this is so-and-so's philosopher's philosophy, this so-and-so's philosopher. It just become things for people to just talk about, in salon, in parties, so that they can show off, I read that guy, I read that guy, I read that guy. That's all it means, okay? But it's really about what's going on in your life, okay? This is your life. Your life as it is, there are conditions that are nourishing your life as it is. If you don't want your life to continue as it is, there is a condition where you don't have to experience it. And once you have faith in that, once you have conviction in that possibility, then you can begin to entertain, okay, what are the paths? And then the path, when you encounter path becomes something that actually will help you, not just something to talk about a lot. Okay. I mean, unfortunately, no, there's uh, uh, so many different paths that I've been taught. Okay. But it all ends up in, look at the so-called eightfold path as, how did you get to where you are? Whatever it is, however you are, where you are, how did you get to it? The eightfold path, you find it there. Okay. It becomes noble when, or I prefer the term that the Zam introduced, it becomes aligned. When it is aligned, then it leads to you being aligned. Okay. The first one, okay, I'm going to say the names in the usual way, and then I'm going to dispense with the usual names, okay? Uh, the first one is view. The second one is sometimes called intention. The third one is speech. Okay, now listen to those words and what do they really mean to you in terms of how you use them instinctively, okay? So view, intention, and the word intention may not be a very good one for the second one, but that's what they use. Intention, speech, right? And then action, okay? And then come livelihood. And then comes, I'm running out of fingers. Okay. And then the Tibetan, okay? And then they use the same one again. Now the knuckles. What was I? And then effort. Okay. And the next two, I prefer these two. Mindfulness And then the last one is not so much concentration, but meditation. Okay? Meditation. But don't think of them as lofty things, like, you know, especially with that last one, meditation, or the first one, view. Okay? Don't get caught up by those terms. How are they in your life? I'm talking about every single day we go through them. And the way I talked about them last time was to say, what is your conviction? I'm not talking about, I'm convinced the Mets will beat the, I don't know, I have no idea what I'm saying. The what's an opposite of the Mets? The Mets will beat the Dodgers? Or do they still alive? Are they still alive? Okay, let me leave that world. That's not my world. uh, your conviction is not what you're speaking your conviction are, right? Your convictions are the things within you that drives you, whether you like where you're driven to or not. Whether you like where you're driven to or not, you're driven by your convictions. That's view. Just because you're able to recite the incredible Nagarjuna's text and then explain Chandrakirti's explanation of Nagarjuna's text, explain how Chandrakirti really properly refuted Buddha Palita, all that kind of stuff. Because you're able to explain that doesn't mean you necessarily have view in alignment view. Okay. The thing is, what are your convictions about your identity, about your being, but not just your conviction about who you are per se? That's not where it stops, but your convictions about your world, your conviction about everything. And it's not consciously thought about convictions. Whatever it is that drives you to do whatever it is that you're driven to do. Okay? It's at the start of it is a conviction. That means your life as it is right now, the truth of suffering as it is right now, is held together by a conviction. Until we change that conviction, we will not be able to do anything. That's all the rest, the 7 are dependent on the first one. Because it's like what's called a domino. It's like a domino effect. Okay. When your convictions are in alignment with who you are in truth, that conviction is what they refer to as right view, correct view, aligned conviction. And of course, this will take some time for our view, for our conviction to be in alignment with who we are. And the only way for us for that conviction to be in alignment with who we are is we have to be honest with our experiences. I am not a nice guy. To say that and have no evidence for it may sound like you're being humble, but you're lying. You're not being honest with your experience. Or I'm a nice guy and you walking on people's feet all the time. You're completely blind to who you are, what you're doing. So you're not in alignment. You're not allowing yourself to see your experiences as they are. Okay? So you do not have correct view. Your view is not in alignment with yourself. I am not a nice guy. I did this to that person. I do this instinctively to these people, and they end up suffering. I'm not a nice guy. And you are telling yourself that, and you know that you have correct view. Your knowing about who you are is in alignment with who you are at that moment. It doesn't have to be, I am empty of existence. and I know that I'm empty of inherent existence. Therefore, now I have correct view. Okay, you can keep saying that for thousands and millions of Earth, until that rings true to actual experiences. You have no view. Okay, you have fantasized view. Just because it says so in a book that you're fundamentally you're empty, just repeating it doesn't mean you have now a view, correct view. Okay. All right. So being honest, and how do we know where our convictions are? What are we driven to do naturally? They will point to our convictions. Okay. And there's this beautiful term that is coming out. What's it called? Self-sabotage. That's been going around for quite some time now. Right? Self-sabotage. A lot of people finding themselves doing that kind of stuff. Where is that coming from? It comes from a kind of a conviction. The conviction leads to this experience or this action called self-sabotage. Okay. So the view that we have, the conviction that we have, and this is what the intention is what kind of thoughts we find ourselves mostly having. Okay. What kind of thoughts we find ourselves mostly entertaining. That's the intention. Okay. The view is more of a state of being, and the intention is sort of like a conceptualization of that state of being, or speaking that state of being. Okay, that's the intention. Even never mind, is your intention malign? Is your intention benign? Okay. What kinds of thoughts you find yourself mostly having? Okay, that kind of thought is powered by the convictions that we're not necessarily aware of, consciously aware of. Okay. If the conviction is in alignment with who you are, then your thoughts will be in alignment with that. If you're convinced that I'm someone who must fail, you will have thoughts that will lead eventually for you to see yourself failing, because the conviction is I must fail for whatever reason. Okay. This is more of the psychological real thing. Okay. And this kind of the kinds of thinking that goes in your mind, of course, will lead to what kind of communication you have. That's the speech part. What do you communicate? What do you talk about? Right? There are some people who talk about only one kind of thing because that's the only thing they think about all the time. Okay. For them to start talking about something else, it's kind of difficult for them. Why? Because their minds are not, it's not part of their thinking, normal thinking. They have to twist their mind to think differently for them to begin to speak differently. So we speak, the way we speak, what we end up, the words we choose, the way we communicate our words, all that is because of the kind of thinking we are allowing ourselves to have all the time. You know, when you're sitting down and you catch yourself thinking, what are you thinking? Okay. Not the kind of thoughts that you're deliberately pushing forth necessarily, but when you are just, your mind is just by itself, oh, I can think now. I don't need to be encouraged. What kind of thoughts are present? Okay. And of course, speech is also, speech is not necessarily what you say with your mouth per se. Speech is also an inner kind of speech. Like the kind of, some people, when they think in words, that's also part of the speech. Okay. Because what we are in align with is what will lead to the kind of actions that we have, or the kind of non-actions that we have. Okay. If I'm not constantly thinking in terms of love or compassion, when I see a situation that demands a compassionate response, I'm not going to find myself acting out of compassion, out of compassion, because I'm just going to notice it, and that's an interesting phenomenon. I'm noticing, okay, but they will not lead to an action. Okay. Uh, Action. And what's the next one? The next one is, and this is where it's becoming really, really, really like it's like coming from the outside, from the inside, coming out, right? The view, the thoughts, and then the words, and then the action. And now what they're referring to as livelihood is not so much in terms of how do you earn your money per se, right? Because if it was that, then what about the monks who are supposed to be beggars? They're not earning money. So livelihood is really about what do you find yourself doing every day that has become habitual? Even going to where you earn your living. Okay? Even that kind of, there's something holding you wherever it is that you find yourself earning your living. There's something holding you there. Okay. And that becomes your habitual pattern. Come on. What, that 10 hours a day? That's 10 hours a day out of 20, not even 24, because we're supposed to sleep 8 hours. So that's most of the day. That's most of our lives. What is it that we habitually, and when we are at work, what are we thinking? What is the work forcing us to think? What is the work forcing us to do? Okay, that's the livelihood part. Think of it more as habits that have been developed. It's almost automatic. Okay. And then the effort. The effort part, really, it's really about the example that I give is, oh, it's late. I don't think I can meditate tonight. I feel so tired. And then you actually feel tired. There's no way. You don't see energy anywhere. Energy is gone, left you, left the universe, left your universe. And then someone says, "Oh, you know that movie you always wanted to see? It's showing over there." And all of a sudden, the energy comes in. Where did it come from? Because that movie, whether you want to say it in words or not, it's important to you. It's important. We've placed value in it that instinctively that we are able to find the resources, the energy when we need it. Okay. Or we can, that's my way of describing it. Some people have different experiences as to why they're lacking energy sometime when they want to do something. Okay. And it could be different reasons. But the thing is, the effort is how easy it is for you to find the energy that you need to do something. If your view is in alignment with your fundamental nature, you will always find the energy you need that will help you fulfill that. That's right effort. But if our conviction is in self-destruction, self-sabotage, we will always find the energy that will help us sabotage ourselves, because that's what we are in alignment with. And it's difficult for us to find energy that will lead to a different kind of livelihood, a different kind of habit, a different activity, because that's not how we programmed ourselves to be connected to resources. We did not program ourselves to connect to resource when we want to fulfill this, but we program ourselves, like I program myself, when that movie is playing, I want energy. I want to be wide awake. I want to be able to get in the car, and then travel whatever distance I have to travel. I need to be awake. I need to stay awake for that movie for however long it takes. And I need to be awake, and then I can crash. Okay, because that movie is important to me for whatever reason. Okay, So whatever is sincerely important to you, you will find the energy for it. That's what this is saying. If you can't find, there's this path, there's the noble path, there's the spiritual path. I can't find energy to do anything. How convinced are you that it is important to you? We have not arrived at that level of conviction yet. And my teacher would say, you don't really see that your life is suffering yet. If you saw your life as it is, then that will naturally help you, direct you to find the resources you need. And also the patience that you need. I've been meditating for 3 hours. I'm not enlightened yet. What's going on? Okay. And yet spend 10 years, 20 years in doing one job. How do I get the energy to do that? I'm convinced I need to pay my bills. I need to pay this. These are important. These are important. It's important to pay my bills. It's important to buy this. It's important because we are convinced that's important. We are convinced. We find the energy to do it, even though if we don't want to do it, because we have convinced ourselves that's important. Okay, that's where effort is, and mindfulness, and that's more of what is it that we are able to be aware of. And the example of self-sabotage, everyone is complimenting you. You don't hear a word. And that one person says some criticism, and that's the only word you heard. That is mindfulness, but wrong mindfulness because it's not aligned. But rather, it is being directed by the conviction. I am someone who's not supposed to not to be loved, or supposed to be not to supposed to sabotage myself. So I'm aware of the things that will support that. I am mindful of those things. But if I am someone who is honest with life as it is, then whatever life is giving me, I'm aware of it. Okay. That's mindful. That's mindfulness, where it's more like, what is it that you are able to naturally direct your attention to? You know, sometimes you're having a conversation with someone, there are some words that you catch, and there are some words you just don't catch. Why is that? Because you could say it is the program from the conviction, what to be aware of and what not to be aware of. So these things are not things that we necessarily have to adopt. Mindfulness is not something that we have to make ourselves start to develop. We have it already. It's just what is directing it? To what direction is it being directed? Right? And the very last one, meditation or concentration, I prefer to call it, what is it that you find yourself absorbed in? Because that's what meditation is, in a sense. When you're meditating on love, there's a point where you are absorbed in love, and there's nothing that exists but love. Meditation is also even referred to as the absorption, an absorption. Okay, so what is it that you find your life absorbed in whatever way you want to describe it? And these things nourish each other. The absorption nourishes the view nourishes the absorption nourishes the effort nourishes, and so on and so forth. All right? And look into your life, whatever is going on, the Eightfold Path are present. And how do we make them noble? I'll say this. When we allow ourselves to begin to just notice life, you will begin to notice that the actual physics of life, the actual physics of existence, from the physics, if you want to say, of consciousness, and the physics of materiality, from planets to stars, the physics, and I'm using the word physics deliberately because of what physics represent. There is a bonding taking place. There is a sharing taking place. There is a, if one thing stops, supporting, not supporting, participating. If one thing starts participating in existence, existence will crumble. This is the very fundamental principle of existence. And this bonding principle, this connection principle, for the lack of a better word, we throw the word love. To be in alignment with your fundamental nature is to be aligned with this fundamental state, which is love. When we are in alignment with love, when our view is in alignment with that, when we are convinced that is the fundamental nature, that my being exists because of this principle of love. And don't think of it as some wishy-washy kind of thing. Think of it as physics, okay? And an example that I can give is in my most immediate experience, something happened at work and I find myself having to be there every single day for the past month, every single day, from like 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm at work until sometime 10 o'clock at night. Every single day for the past month, including Saturdays and Sundays, okay? And then after some time, wow, this is exciting. I'm solving something. I'm excited to be there. And then after some time, it's not so exciting anymore. When is this gonna end? And it doesn't end. And now you're trying to get this thing done so you can finally have a weekend where you actually just do absolutely nothing. And someone comes with a problem on top of the problem that you're trying to solve. And the instinct is to, can't you see I'm working? I'm trying to stop this thing. But rather, if I just stop and think and go and connect with this, I'm connected to this person through this bond of love. And immediately instead of trying to think about how I'm being interrupted, but I think, there's something happening with this person that they feel the need to communicate to me. And I turn towards that person, just in my thought, actually, to show you how powerful it is. When I was thinking about, I was really just, I was not in a good energy. Let's put it that way. Okay. I was not in a good energy field. But as soon as I think about, that person is in a situation and I'm starting to express concern for them, then the feeling I was feeling went away. And I said, I think that's what they were talking about. When you're in alignment with love, then instead of distracting myself from what was going on, but actually notice what was going on and actually seek to respond in a way that was constructive and helpful to the person without betraying what was happening with me, I find myself I found the words that I needed to say to that person so that I can help them or at least guide them to where they can find help, or at least tell them help is not here, so they can stop looking for it here. And I also find myself a bit more at peace to do what I was doing. Okay, and this is the very crude example of what I'm trying to refer to as be in alignment with the nature of, and the reason that love, I'm saying love is the nature of reality. I'm not trying to be poetic. I'm not trying to say beautiful words. I'm saying this is the physics of the world, of reality. Okay, and in the different ways that we can connect with love, can we express love, begin in those ways. Okay. Then if we are in alignment with love, then we will find ourselves thinking loving things. Thinking loving things, we will be saying loving things. We will be speaking in our minds loving things. We'll be doing actions that are loving things. When I see someone in help, needs help, I find the energy to be able to express love towards that person, to express compassion towards that person. I find my mind naturally looking for the signs. Oh yeah, that's love. Oh yeah, that's connection of love. Oh yeah, that's love over there. Being able to be mindful of how everything is connected towards that. And by everything, I mean even when I'm angry, it's connected to that. Okay. And when you and that becomes, and eventually, I'm not saying I'm there yet, but eventually that will become my natural, my everyday, my livelihood, my habit, how I relate with the world. My instinct will not be to do something without thinking, without a sense of connection to the what my actions will do. Like just throwing the garbage on the streets. When you understand the love connection in there, that this action is not just me, it's connected to other beings are connected to this action that I'm doing. And what will happen to you? Some people, they throw it anywhere. And some people, because they are considerate, they have garbage in their hands, they keep holding on to it until they find a proper receptacle to put it. Why is that? Because of their conviction, because of the kind of thoughts they have. It leads to that kind of action. If you're in alignment with in alignment with consideration, you're considerate in your thinking, considerate in your speech, considerate in your actions, and you're mindful of how you move through the world. You move with consideration. You hold back energy because of consideration. You express energy because of consideration. And the more you will become absorbed in that, the more that will become natural for you, the more you will be mindful, in the sense of you will be sensitive to the signs. Just like when our mindfulness is wrong, that means it's sensitive to the signs that keep us out of alignment. Oh yeah, that one person said my presentation sucked, forgetting that everyone else was praising you. Because your mindfulness doesn't care about those kinds of things. It is sensitive to pick up only those things. Oh, that person looked at me disapprovingly. How did you notice that? How were you able to be more aware of that? Because of conviction. All right, so I'm terribly sorry that I'm not giving you a chance to talk, but if you are brave enough to stick around and share your thoughts about your experiences, your life experience, how, yeah, how these things, how you see those things in your life, the 4 facts, the 8 path. And the 8 path, remember, the 8 path are not something for you to go necessarily to go learn and adopt. You already have them. Your existence is the very expression of them. The thing is, are they aligned? And how to align them? How to align them begins with by simply being honest with your experiences. You know, I'm not a nice person. Why? I say this thing and it hurts them when people say that. I do these things and then it hurts people. That's not nice. And you're acknowledging that. That's beginning of wisdom. Rather than saying, oh, I'm not nice, because it's a nice thing to say to show somehow you're humble, but you're really not nice, but you're saying and they're not nice because not because you're seeing that you're not nice, if you understand what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So that somehow concludes the bringing it home, the the call, 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And in the discussion, I was reminded that the 4 Noble Truths is in the actual teachings that talks about the 4 Noble Truth is called setting the wheel in motion, the wheel of Dharma in motion. Praticca Samutpad, if you want to know the Sanskrit word for it. You know how to spell it? Okay. All right. Yes, please. The floor is yours.
Okay, yeah, I have a question. Thank you so much, by the way. Firstly, I loved the idea that the Buddha could have said the first noble truth was bliss, and that we could have done it with anything. That's sort of looking at how things work rather than the content, but sort of the structure of the universe.
Mm.
But I have a question about, so like sometimes I think about let's say cheetahs or leopards as meat eaters.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be funny if we were trying to convince a leopard to become a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
And if a leopard was like, like did the first noble truth and is like, I kill animals. But maybe that's its true nature. So it wouldn't say, what are the causes that make me kill animals and I should become vegetarian? But like for a human, and even in Buddhism, which ascribes to vegetarianism, although we've been predators for a long time for sure,
Mm-hmm.
we have a value system, or like I'm a mean person, but maybe that's the true nature of that person, to be mean. And so why should he or she go and find the causes and then try to shift that to become nice? Or like, what is the thing inside of us, that the compass that tells us which way to move from when we accept the truth of the first noble truth? If that does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, there is a kind of an interpretation in Tibet. They're not. They're Buddhist by a different name. And the way they described the idea of this is your nature, be that. Like you say, you're a thief. Okay, that's your nature. So you steal. Okay. Now, it's not, the thing is like saying, I'm a meat eater, like the tiger, for example, or even Chongra Rato Rinpoche, the first Tibetan teacher I ever met. He says, yeah, being a vegetarian is a very noble idea, but I eat meat. Right. And it's not so much saying like the tiger, you know, It's my nature. I kill and I hunt and I eat. Live with it. It's not so much that, but rather this is what I find myself doing. This is what I find myself. This is the condition that I find myself in, and being honest with it. It's not saying I am a meat eater and knowing that I'm a meat eater, therefore, why should I try to be nice? But rather acknowledging the same thing, like I step on people's toes, and acknowledging that you do that because you've witnessed, you have evidence that you've done so. And just by being honest with that, and because the nature, and I'm serious when I say it, the physics of existence is love, because that is the physics of reality. You will find perhaps, for now, I cannot not eat meat. You will find a more humane way, so to speak, to eat it. Like the way, and there's a lot of debate even within Buddhism about this, about eating of meat, where it started with the Buddha saying, hey, whatever they put in your plate, that's what you eat. It doesn't matter if it's meat or it's vegetarian, okay? But don't go out and hunt an animal for you to eat it. But if that's what someone gives you, they spent the energy, they prepared it for you, and there you are getting that. That's what they give you. You take it. Okay. So the thing is, like, I'm not necessarily going to go into the tiger's mind per se, but analogous to that, the person who steps on people's toes and realizes that I step on people's toes. I say mean things to people. Acknowledging that what you say is mean, what you say hurts, acknowledging it. That itself, because of the law that the fundamental nature is love, and to express it in a way, in a very like a summary way of expressing it, is seeking to bring contentment, happiness, or being concerned about the contentment of another. Being concerned about the contentment of another, okay? So you could say that. And that other could be you, being concerned about your own contentment, being concerned about wherever there's a self, whether it's here or there, you're concerned about its contentment, okay? Because that is, and it's a law. It's even in why your iPhone works, because of love, okay? That's what I mean by this physics. If it wasn't for all these different glass and metal and plastic somehow able to work together, plastic stopped being plastic, glass stopped being glass, metal stopped being metal, electricity stopped being electricity, we wouldn't have this unit thing called iPhone, telephone, where we're able to do something that plastic by itself can't do, that glass by itself can't do, okay? Because they're able to, I would say, sacrifice their perceived identities for another identity. That is the principle that is at the heart of everything that is. It's because of a bunch of appearing different things sacrifice their appearing differences so that a different appearance can come into being. And I give the example of, and some, I hope you're not tired of this example, hydrogen and oxygen coming together, stop being hydrogen, start being oxygen, and they're able to become water, okay? So that's the principle of existence. Whatever that is because of sacrifices. So the person who finds themselves having a particular nature that is like Chon Arato Rinpoche, for example, I eat meat. That is the kind of body that I was born into, that it needs meat. But it doesn't mean that I must continue to be like this forever. But I'm honest with that's how my condition is. Okay? Circumstances came together, produced this body, and this body, because of its condition, eats meat. Okay? And you stop there. You don't say, oh, that's what the gods do to justify it. No, this is where I am right now. And maybe tomorrow, all of a sudden, the body will want vegetables only. Okay? So being honest with who you are at the moment, without having to extrapolate into some sort of distant future, like this is how you're going to be for the rest of your existence. But at the present moment, I'm Tiger. I eat meat. I hunt. And I'm sure all of us have seen this video already of the lion who almost starved to death to protect an animal that should be its prey. Have you seen that video? The lion who almost starved to death protecting, what was it? A baby, I forgot exactly what type of animal, but it's the kind of animal it eats, it hunts naturally. It found this baby, raised it, protected it, and almost starved itself to protect it. So yes, the lion eats, that's nature, eats meat. What stopped it from being able to, or being overcome by its nature and eat that baby? Okay. I'm sure it didn't go through some sort of mental gymnastic. Oh, it's good to not to eat the baby. The angels are watching. No, it didn't go. I'm sure it didn't go to all of that. Something else took over. Simply was in alignment with love, and it found the power to resist, the power to stay alive, because taking care of that baby was the most important thing. All right. Sorry, that's a long, drawn out answer to your question. Okay. Yeah. And the question should be as challenging as that. Okay. The examples that you think of, what about that example? How does that fit in this? And then let yourself go through it to see if it's a fact or not. Okay. All right. So I have to let you go. It's way past bedtime. Sorry. One day there'll be you'll talk. I'm not gonna say which day, but one day. I'm not gonna say which lifetime. So I will not be lying if it never happens in this life. Okay. All right. Let's do our usual meditation to end. And thank you very much for attending, and thank you for all of your enlightened selves to be present. Communicate to your being that you're going to enter into the state called meditation. Understand your body already knows what that is, and it's wants to go in there, so it's not going to be fighting you, it's going to be cooperating. So listen to it, that intelligence giving you advice: arrange your legs this way, Arrange your back this way, arrange your shoulders this way, your hands this way, your head and neck, your mouth, teeth, tongue, your eyes. And just through the body, begin to feel yourself touching the meditative state. In the body, starting to feel a sense of calm, a sense of pleasantness, a sense of distinctive clarity. This is body, this is torso, a sense of knowing it in the very present moment, very close to the present moment, in the sense of the mind collecting itself. And if you can remember how it felt in the meditation that you did, just recalling it begins to awaken the experience. And as soon as you have a taste of it, you take a nice determination to enter and stay with it. And you can sign that determination with the breath. And as you let go of the breath, let yourself fall into that state, letting go, letting go, letting go. Feel yourself going deeper in the body, deeper in the breath, deeper with the mind, into that calm, into that pleasantness, into that clarity, into that radiance, into that calm. Notice the presence of the inner signs, the tactile sensations that are connected with meditation, the inner sounds, the inner visions, whatever inner sensation are present to give you the knowledge you are in meditation. So doubt be cast aside. And feel all of us sitting together in a circle. Wherever you are, even if you're watching this in a closet, your closet is magical. Without losing its size, all of us can fit in and be comfortable. And a sense of usness is very strong. And it's so strong, it begins to take an actual form, a bright presence in the circle, in the center of the circle. And as that sense of usness gets stronger and stronger, more and more convincing, that brightness begins to expand and expand. As that expands, it absorbs everything into itself, making everything into just this bright usness. And it expands until it absorbs everyone, everything in your home, everything, everyone in your neighborhood, everything, everyone in your state, your country, the entire earth. And if it's real for you, for it to go beyond that, let it go as far as it can be real for you, until the sense of everyone, everything in a real way is absorbed into that us. This is us. And as we hold on to that us, there's this beautiful mystery of us. You're there, I am here, and yet we are us. The river, the mountains, the birds flying, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the different trees, grass, animals that live under the earth, animals that crawl on the earth, animals that fly above the earth, all us, the clouds, your neighbors. And this visual of this ball of light, making the sense of usness strong and vivid and real. We no longer need this visual image to remind us, because it is our innate conviction now. And as a result of that, the light begins to shrink back again. And as it shrinks back, whatever it absorbed is glowing until it becomes a ball of light again, right in the center of our circle. And there's a light, a ray of light from our hearts to that ball of light. And because we no longer need a symbol to remind us of this fact. It is now innate. Now, the ball of light dissolves into the rays of light and then is absorbed into our hearts. And we live now with the conviction, when I sincerely, with alignment, take care of this that I call self, I am in reality also taking care of us. And just like in alignment, when I'm taking care of us, over there, I'm also taking care of me. So we are no longer bewildered by us, where there could be me here, you there, and we take care of each other. And we understand the bond that connects us. And get ready to end the meditation. Feel that you are indeed in the meditative state. Notice the signs, rejoice that they are present, the calm, the pleasantness, the distinctive clarity of our inner experiences, the presentness, the vividness of these experiences, the mind collected to whatever measure, to whatever degree, and knowing that we have gathered, collected powerful potential with this session tonight because of how we were allowing our thoughts to move and think of something that sincerely concerns you, whether it's completely personal, yourself, or something connected to someone you know, or a place somewhere, and dedicate this energy, this potential to help fulfill that concern, address that concern. Gyawa di gyawakan Senam yeshe zodzog shing Senam yeshe lechung Tamba kunye toba shu. With joy, witness your meditation. With joy, make the intention to come out. Take a nice deep breath. And as you release that breath, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings, deliberately, consciously reconnect to the sense of touch, sense of hearing, and the sense of sight. Okay, thank you so very much, everyone. And see you again soon.